Infidelity statistics. Listen to this: 20% of married men and 13% of married women report having sex with someone other than their spouse during their marriage. Now, that's not alarmingly high, but stick with me here. Approximately 46% of women and 34% of men report a partner has cheated on them at some point. 46% of women and 34% of men. I'm not so sure what the margin of error is here, but this tells you that more men cheat than women, because women are reporting that they have been, that they have been cheated on, and 34% of men. Now, based on those figures, you would say, okay, women are better at, they're not as bad at cheating. I personally disagree. I'm sure these are done by American Survey Center in 2025, so they're probably pretty accurate. So this tells a story. So now, between 15 to 20% of people in monogamous relationships cheat during the relationship. 15 to 20% of people in a monogamous relationship cheat during the relationship. And you have to say why. Why? And they're saying 15 to 20% of what? Men, women combined? Is it only men? More than likely it's combined. This just goes to show you, I'm not going to be like, overly, melodramatic about this, or just, overly, I don't know, sensitive to it. But this is like epidemic proportions here, the amount of people who are cheating, because I personally think these numbers are conservative, because I think to myself, who's actually going to admit to cheating? If I'm cheating on my wife and somebody comes up and asks me, I'm not going to say yes. I might confess to something I'd done a year or two, maybe 3 ago, but no, I don't think I would do that. So you have to wonder about the authenticity and the accuracy of these numbers. Now, emotional and psychological impact of cheating. This is very, very underestimated. Very, we'll say, unspoken, and it's much more damaging than many people believe or realize. Infidelity is now clinically recognized as relational trauma. Victims can develop post-infidelity stress disorder with symptoms mirroring PTSD. Now, PTSD is obviously post-traumatic stress syndrome, often associated with someone who's been in the military, or maybe something traumatic as far as life circumstances are concerned. But now, they're beginning to recognize the emotional impact and psychological impact of cheating. It's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. There aren't too many things in life that would be more devastating than discovering that you're being cheated on. And what's even worse, in my opinion, is suspecting that you're being cheated on and yet not knowing. So, common effects: chronic anxiety, depression, self-worth damage, trust destruction, intrusive thoughts, and hypervigilance. Now, if I'm being honest, this is me. I myself was single for 10 to 12 years before I met my wife. I'm married now. You can see her name is Monica. There's her name right there. And I'm proud to be married to her. I'm very, very happy. But, during that time, I experienced every single one of these things. The chronic anxiety, just the anxiety of, oh, is she telling me the truth? Is she lying to me like the other one did? And then there's bouts of depression. Yes and no. You think to yourself, oh my God, I'm never going to find anybody. Is anybody out there normal anymore? And, the answer is no. I tell people, people would ask me, how are you still single? You seem like a nice guy, got your shit together, whatever. I'm like, man, you have no idea what's out there. No idea what's out there. It's like everybody is broken, and myself included. I'm not perfect. I'm sure many people said the same thing about me. So anyway, self-worth damage. Yes, that's very, very real, because you enter the dating world thinking that you're all the shit. You're married for 10, 20 years. You think you're going to pick up where you left off when you were 20, but you don't. It's a different game out there. It's much more vicious, much more competitive, much more underhanded. And I got to tell you, man, the amount of lies that take place, everybody with the friends with benefits, everyone keeps in touch with their exes. Everyone has the guy friends, the girlfriends. It becomes so convoluted and so difficult to have a relationship, because as you move along in life, you develop these red flags. You develop these boxes that need to get checked. I don't do this. I don't do that. That whatever. This is off limits. And that's what happens. And how does that happen? Because you embark on a relationship and you say, okay, this girl has a guy friend. Not a big deal. I'm not going to let it bother me. Time goes on, she's spending a lot of time with the guy friend and maybe not as much giving you all of her emotional, attention, because it's impossible to do that. You can't have one foot in each puddle. Now, I'm not saying she's involved with this guy, but yet it's another male, another rooster in the henhouse. I personally believe that, I'm not comfortable with the guy friends thing. That's for me. Why? Because I've experienced it. I tried to be okay with it, and it only turned out as a kick in the ass, as me saying to myself, you see, I knew it. I shouldn't have put up with this. Now, that is a hard no. That is a hard line. I do not cross. No male friends, period. And that goes back to the self-worth damage where I wasn't, so concerned about it before, but I am now. And that's because of my experience. Trust destruction. Yeah. That once you get cheated on, lied to, it becomes very, very difficult to trust somebody. I know we all want to. I want to. I want to trust. When my wife and I started dating, of course I wanted to trust her, but it was impossible. Impossible. There was no way in the world I could have. It takes me a long time. I'm not a glass full kind of guy. My glass is completely empty. It's arid. It's dry. It's, as dusty and dry as you could possibly get. And you have to fill that glass up if you want to earn my respect and my trust. I've always been like that, but I've gotten worse as the years have gone on in the dating world. And so trust destruction was huge for me. Now I trust my wife. Obviously, we moved along to a point in our relationship where there's real trust. But that's a very, very difficult thing to overcome. And if you've ever experienced cheating, infidelity, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost like you have to program your mind to not care. Because when that person leaves the house, how do you know they're lying to you? How do you know they're telling you the truth, rather? You don't. So it's either that or you just drive yourself crazy, wondering where they are and what they're doing. And who the fuck wants to live like that? Intrusive thoughts. Oof. Intrusive thoughts. Oh my gosh. When I was married for 20 years. And naturally, as I mentioned with my now second wife, you get into a nice little groove where you create your own little world and you trust, and everything becomes much more predictable and much more stable. And over 20 years of being married, I never questioned my ex-wife. I get out into the dating world and I think everything is going to be just like that, Yeah, but no, it's everybody lies. Everybody. There hasn't been one woman I've been with since I was single that hasn't lied. And I understand it. There are white lies and there are really bad lies. And I've been told both. I understand the white lie stuff, but white lies typically do a lot of damage because that's pretty much a personal thing. Like, I don't think he or she needs to know this. I think this will cause a problem, so I'll just keep it under my hat. That's a tough one, but that's where the intrusive thoughts come from. Is she telling me the truth? Is she where she says she is? Is this guy really what she says? Is that? And so many questions come in. So many questions just flood your mind, and it's all because of what I have experienced in the past. And, people always say that you should not punish this one for the actions of all the others. And that's true. But as humans, that's almost impossible. We're all about self-preservation, self-protection, survival. And we remember what it was like to be hurt like that, to have that devastation, and that all of a sudden that abrupt destruction of intimacy, vulnerability, trust. I don't see how it's possible to just go into a relationship and say, yeah, I trust her. You can't. You're human. We're built to retain these experiences, so now we protect ourselves in the future. And of course, hypervigilance. Now, if I'm being honest, of course, yes, I am hypervigilant in my marriage. And my wife is too, which is why she and I go so well together, because we are very, very much the same. We are on the same page about so many crucial issues that really do matter to us. And one of those is being hypervigilant about the relationship. We know each other. We read each other. We spend so much time together that her simple touch, I can feel a difference in some days if maybe she's in a bad mood or something like that. My biggest fear, of course, is like, well, maybe she's mad at me for something. Maybe somebody reached out from her past. And that's the other thing too. She was single for 10, 12 years, and so was I. You have a lot of baggage. You have a lot of fucking shit in your wake. And where these people that you dated and you spend time with probably don't know what your situation is because now you no longer keep in touch with them. But everybody's always recycling in this dating business. They're always recycling, and they just go right back to the ones that, well, he wasn't so bad. She wasn't so bad. Maybe I'll give them another shot. And that's what happens there. So it's been my experience that, they're an ex for a reason. Keep them as an ex. And, so anyway, getting back to the hypervigilance thing. So yeah, I'm hypervigilant because I know that she's had men reach out to her, one that she's been friends with, and also men that she has dated where it just didn't work out for that reason. Maybe they dropped the ball or she wasn't interested. And I too as well. I also have women reaching out to me on social media and things like that. And that's why my wife and I are very, very transparent with one another. She knows my password. She takes my phone anytime she wants. And many times I'll be looking like, where's my phone? Oh, okay, she has it. And I don't care because that's the type of security and transparency that she needs to be happy in the relationship. And I'm happy to give that to her. And so that's where it's very, very difficult to find somebody these days. You think you're going to go out there and just find a new partner. No, you're not. You're not. And I don't mean to break anybody's bubble, but it's just not gonna. It's not gonna happen. So, now, and people who now let me move on to this. The third part of all this, and that is people when they suspect cheating and when you have experienced all these things. There's naturally a time, or you want to find out the truth. You want to find out. You want to make sure that you're not going to get lied to or cheated on again. So. And this is where GPS tracking comes in because GPS tracking, number one, is very, very easy to do. There are a lot of sites out there. One of them is instantid.io that you can get you the GPS history of that phone. And all you need is the phone number. All you need to do is go to instantid.io. You enter that telephone number and it gets you, the approximate location, the exact location. You can get live location streaming so you can see that phone moving in real time. But what's most important to most people is getting that GPS history. And instantid.io gets that GPS history from that phone without having it or being anywhere near it, and without the approximate location and everything else that I mentioned, without the other person knowing. And that is what people love about Instant ID, because there's, something when you go through these situations in life, naturally there's a tendency to doubt somebody. So you could turn to a GPS locator site and just say alleviate your doubts. You could extinguish them simply by doing something like this. Now, people might disagree with it, but it's effective. It helped me. When I got into a relationship with my now wife, she would tell me, look, I don't lie, I don't do this, and I don't do that. Yeah, right. Words are bullshit. I go by actions. So there were a couple of times she would tell me something, and of course, I would verify it just to make sure. And that's the trust process. That's the building process. Now here we are 2 years later. I don't check up on her anymore. I don't verify her stories anymore because I know she's telling me the truth. And how do I know that? Because of so many times before. She was always consistent. She was always transparent. She's always, there's nothing that ever crosses up. But in the beginning, in those early days, yeah, GPS tracking was very, very important. So, phone secrecy is the number one behavioral sign of cheating. Phone secrecy. I mean, if someone's not going to give you their phone or turn over their phone, yeah, there's something going on there. Location discrepancies. I mean, let's look at this one. Let me get back to the secrecy. If you don't know their password, big red flag. If they're deleting messages, big red flag. Because most people don't, unless you get somebody who's really neurotic or anal and just wants everything clean all the time. But most people are not like that. We don't have the time. So anyway, location discrepancies. Now, this is how GPS relates to cheating, because anybody who's cheating, their stories are not going to line up. Now, as I said, my wife now, all of her stories always add up. So I'm not concerned about it anymore. But discrepancies, when they exist, or if they do exist, that's a big red flag. I was at work late. My phone died or something like that. So, yeah, I was at work late versus actual GPS data are the most concrete, undeniable form of proof. Because if you can get into someone's phone, like with instant ID, without them knowing, without having the phone, by using just the telephone number, and now you'll be able to see where they were from the data that is stored on their phone. Now they're telling you the truth. Why? Because People can and do lie, but the cell phone does not. That information in that cell phone was documented and stored by basically a computer and two apps communicating. They have no skin in the game as far as protecting this person from cheating or protecting this person from being discovered of cheating or anything else. The computers don't give a shit. They save the exact location at that exact time. And I mean exact time, like 3:12 p.m. and 13 seconds or 3:12 p.m. and 13 seconds, whatever the proper way to pronounce that is, or to say it. But you'll get it right down to the second. Then you'll see where this phone was and what time it left, even the routes that it took, and that's all available in the GPS history of the phone. All of it is available through like any app that's tracking you, and there are a lot on your phone that are tracking you. So people who have been gaslighted need objective, factual evidence to trust their own instincts again. And this is what I mean by you ask a question and they tell you something, and then it's perfectly normal and, in my opinion, acceptable to follow up. Why? Because that's how you build trust. It's my opinion that anybody who trusts blindly is really asking for trouble. You really shouldn't, in my opinion. I know there are some people who disagree with that, but I've never been that kind of person, never. And, I do that obviously to protect myself, to protect my family, to protect what comes into my life, and more importantly, to what stays in my life. So when you get caught in 4K content, proving cheating with undeniable evidence is among the most viral relationship content on social media. And that is getting caught in 4K content, proving cheating with undeniable evidence. 4K is basically saying your phone, your video, your GPS. If you have your phone on you and you're committing infidelity, if you're lying to your partner, trust me when I tell you, you will be caught. You will be caught. If someone is listening to this and it really matters to them that much, they're going to go to instantid.io or they're going to go to prospy.app to get your WhatsApp deleted messages. And there's no hiding from it. Everything is in your phone. Everything happened that's in your phone, and it happened sequentially, chronologically, logically, definitively, transparently, all in your phone that cannot be hidden from.